Hello and welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Show. I am your host, Jay Jones. Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the Black community by promoting business ownership. If you are currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, we invite you to join us every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint.
Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 208. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today, family, we have a dynamic show in store for you. Today, we're going to be speaking with Mr. Onae&nbsp. And Onae has an amazing story where this young man who has a master's degree found himself working in a factory for $8 an hour. And then he was able to transition from employee to entrepreneur by becoming a public speaker and speaking to high school, middle school, and elementary school children, where he's now averaging $6,000 to $7,000 a month, and he's made this transition within about a year. Before we get to today's show, family, I just have a few updates. Update number one, please spread the word about my new book, A New Black Wall Street. You can find it at www.anewblackwallstreet.com. The book is $14.95 plus shipping and handling. Also, if anybody is interested in building and learning how to build a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, I'm doing a promotion for the first 5 people that sign up for my course, Educated E-Commerce. You'll get a $200 discount off the $497 price. Now, this is good just for the first 5 people. So if you go to educatedecommerce.com and put in the information and put the coupon code BEB200, you'll save $200 off the $497 price. So that's BEB200. Just go to educatedecommerce.com. Now, let's listen to the interview with Mr. Onae&nbsp. We are on the line with Mr. Onae&nbsp. Onae, how are you this morning, brother?
Doing wonderful, man. Doing wonderful. Blessed.
Good. Now, it's funny. You shot me an email a little while ago, and I couldn't stop reading this email because it was so dynamic and it was powerful, the message that you sent to me. So before we get into your entrepreneurial journey, just tell the family, BEB family, who you are and a little bit about your background.
Awesome. Okay, I'm Onae Chatman, born here in Tupelo, Mississippi. Most people will recognize the name Tupelo, the birthplace of Elvis Presley. So a small town here in North Mississippi, raised about 5 miles from there in Shannon, Mississippi. Was raised by my grandmother, a godly woman, a pastor, a woman that taught me the value of education, hard work, and dedication. So just being raised here in North Mississippi, man, just trying to do my thing. Kind of started my entrepreneur journey, kind of in grade school, kind of like everybody else, selling pencils, selling watches, selling candy. So I've always had the bug.
Cool. As we get into it, BEB family, it's an amazing story. So now, Onae, tell us what you're currently doing and how you made that last transition from your previous job. Let us know what that was to what you're doing right now.
Okay. Well, what I'm currently doing now is operating in educational consulting. Started my own educational consulting company, the Chatman Consulting Group. What we do is we speak to K-12 schools on various subjects: conflict resolution, bullying, decision-making, just any subject that a principal would need to further his or her school. We go in and we do that every week. So we're in a different school, typically every week somewhere in the country, speaking to junior high to high school students, things such as how to transition from high school to college, how to transition from junior high to college, any subject you can think of. We're out doing it. Before I started doing this, man, I was doing factory labor.
Wow.
Found myself working there in the factory, man, making about $8 an hour. Back breaking work, man, working 12, 14 hours some days. And Jay, what happened was, man, the manager, obviously he went and did some research on me, and he came to me one day. He got mad, and he said, how does it feel having a master's degree working for a nigga that don't got a GED?
Are you serious?
And man, man, I'm serious. And what he don't know is, man, how that sparked me, man. He don't even realize that how his words, man, actually took my life to another level, because I looked at him and I said, hey, brother, I said, I'm going to come back here in 3 years. And I said, I guarantee you're going to be still here. I said, but what I want you to do, I want you to Google me in 3 years and see where I'm at.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
And about 1 week later, man, I walked off that job. I told God, I said, God, I'm going to sink or I'm going to swim, but I'm going to get out of here. Because I already had a master's degree. I had received my master's from the Morehouse School of Religion out in Atlanta, Georgia. And even with a master's, I still came back home and found myself working in doing factory labor again. And so I understood I was operating less than my potential. So I said, man, I got to get up. I got to do something about my life, man. And I stepped out and I haven't looked back.
That's what's up, man. That's a tremendous story. So it's funny that manager you had actually helped you, even though he was trying to be condescending. He actually helped you
Right.
get to the place where you are today, that's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. Now it's funny, man, when in your email you had mentioned that you listen to the show a lot, man. How'd you find my show, out of curiosity?
Man, I don't even know, Jay, man. I just listen to all types of shows, man. I have go-to shows that I listen to every week. I listen to Eric Thomas every week. I listen to Boyce Watkins every week. I listen to Jay Morrison every week. And, of course, your show every week. And we have a small investment group here in my city, me and 3 other guys. And we talk about you every week, man. We come together, we're like, hey, man, did you listen to the podcast this week? My brother Will, and so he really listens to you. And so every week, man, I download you to my iPad, man, and tune in and hear what you got to say. So I can't remember exactly how I found it, but I'm glad I did.
My man, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being part of the BEB family. Yeah, man. So that story in itself, man, is just amazing. Going from working in a factory for $8 an hour. I'm not going to get too personal in your business. You did send me some proof of funds there, the way you were getting it in. I'm not going to get all into your business, man. But on a good month, or an average month, what do you think your monthly revenue is? And I know it'll vary based on the number of gigs that you had.
Yeah, it typically varies, but on a good month, man, $6-7 grand.
There you go.
Speaking in schools, did 1 month where it was 17 grand.
There you go.
And so it typically varies, but I'm gonna, it's gonna always be in that range, that 6-7 range, somewhere in there.
That's good. That's good, man. So, and I want to really unpack this a little bit later, because I know I'm interested in learning more about this myself. I speak, but I don't speak in schools per se, because my topic doesn't really jog or fit with especially the younger kids. So my speaking is normally to adults and young adults. But we definitely want to get into unpacking how you started getting gigs and all of that. But when you started, what made you decide to get into that industry, the speaking industry? I know you have a background in ministry and youth ministry. Was that the reason that you started?
Well, yes, that was pretty much the reason I started. So I had already been talking to youth already, and then I learned that the schools had the big money, right? So I mean, you can do speeches in churches, but church is known for wanting to give you a hot dog and a Faygo and send you on your way, right? So what I discovered was that, man, these schools, especially these Title I schools in your poor districts, they had this tremendous amount of money, man, to bring speakers in to do professional development. So I kind of tapped in. What happened was my local school called me to do a Black History program, and just in a 20-minute speech, man, I made $750 for that speech.
Wow.
And I said, you have to remember now, I'm working in a factory, man. Jay, I'm working in a factory, man, making $200 a week.
Right,
so,
right.
So I'm like, okay, 20-minute speech, $750. Okay.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I can really I can really make this happen. And what happened was I ran across a boot camp there in Atlanta, Georgia. This guy named Hotep who started what he called Hustle University, and he runs this boot camp every year, this educational consulting boot camp. And so I borrowed the money from my girl, man. I didn't even have the money. Borrowed the money, I think it was like around $400. I was like, look, I got to get to this boot camp. I got to do whatever it takes to get to this boot camp. So I made my way to the boot camp there in Atlanta, Georgia. And, man, we went on break, and he happened to be sitting over in the corner by himself. I said, oh, man, this is my opportunity. So I go over to him, and I say, hey, brother, let me talk to you for a minute. He was like, tell me a little bit about your business, what you got going on. And I began to break down, you know, how I had just got a $750 speech. This is this. He said, bro, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. I said, say more. He said, you need to create a program. He said, right now you're just doing one-offs. Like you do one speech, get paid.
Right.
One speech, get paid. He said, but if you create a program, give yourself a unique program, put a name on it, you know, take the books that you already have. I think I had 3 books at that time. He said, take the books you have, create a program around it. And he said, now a principal will be able to bring you in multiple times. So where you was making $750 for one speech, now you can say, hey, I can come back 3 times at $2,000 a piece. Now I make $6,000 instead of $750.
There you go.
And so what I did, Jay, that boot camp was in March. In June, I sit down, and by the time August rolled around, I had written 9 books.
Wow. Wow.
I had written 9 books. Now, they're not long books. They're about 40, 50 pages each, because you have to remember, a school is not looking for anything complex. We're talking about kids here. We're talking about students. So they're not looking for anything complex. And what the books allow me to do is, when a principal calls me, I have instant PowerPoint presentations now, because all I got to do is go to the book for whatever topic they want, and I already got the information.
That's strong.
And so that just allows me to have instant presentations already on hand. So I wrote 9 books, covering everything: decision making, bullying, how to transition from high school to college, how to transition from junior high to high school. Any topic I could think of, I said, I need a book on it.
Right.
Because now that helps me with my marketing. Now when I sit down with a principal and I lay 11, 12 books on the desk, it makes it hard for them to refuse me.
Right.
You know, because I have everything. You know, so it's actually like them looking at a menu.
Right.
And just decide
which one you want.
Right? Just decide which one you want. Which one you want. I got everything you need. And so I actually just picked up a 2-day bullying seminar out in Marshall, Texas. I was out speaking at Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, and I just happened to drop by school, Jay, and the principal said, we've been praying that somebody would stop by.
Wow. Are you serious?
And she was like, we got a bullying problem so bad in my school that parents are literally taking their kids out of her school. And just so happened I had my bullying book with me that day. Man, she looked at her administrator and said, whatever it takes to get this guy here, get him here. So I'll be there in the fall, man, doing a 2-day bullying session, man, about $4,000.
That's what's up, brother. I want the BEB family, the light bulbs to go off inside their head right now. And I hope y'all listen, because there was a lot of jewels that my man Onae dropped. Number one, you didn't sit still when you knew that there was something greater destined for you. And what I also like, brother, is that you're staying within your wheelhouse, because you were already a youth minister. So now you're transitioning and talking to youth, and not just talking to them, making a difference, but you're also making money in the process, which is beautiful, man, which is beautiful. And that's what I always talk about: pinpoint and monetize your genius, the intersection of your talents and your passions. And I think I did episode 199 was titled that, and you're doing exactly that. Now, let me ask you, man, you said that you had to borrow money from your girl to get to this boot camp. So how did you finance the rest of your business, or was it more leg work, just going out, meeting people, going to the schools? How did that work? How did you market your business? And finance it first, and then how did you market it?
Well, actually, man, getting started actually didn't cost anything. because all I needed was somewhat of a speaker's resume.
Mm-hmm.
Basically something I just did on the computer. And I self-published my own books through CreateSpace, through Amazon, so that's free as well.
Right.
So actually all of the materials that I use are actually free materials.
Oh, that's great.
So I actually didn't have to come up with anything besides borrowing that money to get to the boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
Because I tell speakers, man, it's easier to get in schools if you've already kind of been speaking. So I tell people, find some free engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you want to do is you want to start getting pictures.
Right.
You want to start getting video footage. You want to start growing that social proof, because when you're sitting in front of a principal, all they want to know is, have you done this before?
Right.
And where have you done this before? They're not so much concerned about the other stuff because they see people every day. People come in every day. They simply want to know, have you done it and where have you done it? So once you begin to gain your social proof, it's easier now to get into schools.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, how do you go about marketing your services? So I know you said you stopped in at one school and you happen to be at the right place at the right time. Thank God, right? But how do you normally market your services?
Man, I pretty much started off old school cold calling, man. Old school, just showing up at the school.
Wow.
Pretty much doing door knocks.
Get out of here.
You know,
cool.
just yeah, man. Pretty much doing door knocks, because what I learned is, if you call a principal, you're not going to get them.
Right.
Because they got a million things going on. They got a million things on their mind. So if you call them, it's a good chance you're not going to get a meeting. So I just show up. And so if you show up, they're more apt to go ahead and get you a meeting since you're already there.
Right.
And so what that looks like is, man, I show up at a school. Is the principal in? They come to the front. Hey, you have about 5 minutes. I have something that can help your school. We sit down. I show them all my books, show them my speaker's resume, and we start negotiating from there.
Wow.
So that's pretty much how I've been doing all of my marketing. And I'm also looking to start going to conferences. So principal conferences, superintendent conferences, and become a vendor and kind of let them start coming to me.
That makes a whole lot of sense, man. Now, did you know prior to going to this boot camp how much money was out there in that market, that high school, middle school market?
I knew money was there, but not as much as I discovered when I got there. Man, there were people in the room, Jay, literally, man, doing $200,000, $300,000 a year.
That's nice.
Speaking in schools, and most of the money comes from book sales. Because if you can get a principal, man, to buy 1,000, 2,000 of your books, man, we're talking about $15,000 to $30,000 just in book sales.
Exactly. And I was going to ask you about that too. That's good. That's great.
Yeah, man. I just had an order come through. We sold 1,000 of my workbooks, man, to a school district here in Mississippi, man. Great money. So that's where the big money is, man, is also in the book sales. Right. Because schools are looking for materials. And another thing is they don't have a lot of black authors. They don't have, if you look through the catalog, through educational catalogs, hardly ever do you see us.
Wow. Okay.
Hardly ever do you see materials from black people. So my background was my master's in Christian education. And so they taught us how to set up workshops, how to do seminars, how to write to get paid. So I just kind of made a smooth transition from what I had learned there in Atlanta to writing my own books and getting them out there.
Now, that brings up a question, because I know a lot of the BEB family members are going to be like, oh, I got a great message. Maybe I can do this. Now, the content for your books and your workbooks, is that all coming from you, or are you taking pieces of something that's already been done and kind of morphing it into what you want it to be, or how does that work? That process?
Well, what it is a mixture. Like on the 2 workbooks that I sold 1,000 of, I employed one of my friends at the time, which was a curriculum specialist. Mm-hmm. And so since I'm the writer, she's the curriculum specialist. So she kind of tells me, hey, this is what you would need to put in this workbook for it to be used inside of the classroom.
Gotcha.
And so if you're out there and you're a writer and you happen to know a teacher or a principal or somebody that's good in curriculum, just kind of get them to kind of guide you on kind of how you need to set up your workbooks, the kind of questions that you need to put on the inside so they can actually be used. Because some books are simply motivational books for students, and then some can actually be used by the teacher in the classroom.
Right.
And so I wanted books not just for motivational purposes, but those that can actually be used inside of the classroom, because I understood that if I write something that can actually be used, more principals would be more apt to buy them
Gotcha. That
for
makes a lot of
their
sense.
school.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes a whole lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. Now, in terms of the actual printing, so I know you use CreateSpace, but so what do? You print out a couple of copies for yourself, and then
Yeah.
when somebody orders,
Yep.
then you just place the order through CreateSpace, get those printed up. That's smart.
Yep.
Print on
Yep.
demand.
Yep.
Print on
Yep.
demand.
Print on demand, man.
Mm,
So I carry what I call a stock, like a
mm.
stock collection with me.
Okay.
So like all 11 or 12 of my books, I carry one of each when I'm going to see principals. And then once they tell me, hey, we want 30, we want 40, we want 100, then I do the print on demand. And, it's an easy process with CreateSpace.
Great. Now, so those are two monetization tactics that you use: book sales and also obviously your speaking fees. Are there any other ways to monetize what you're doing?
Yes, you can also do coaching. So I also do coaching.
Okay, great.
I've had people say, hey, I want to become a professional speaker. How do I do it? So I've coached people on how to get into schools. I've coached people on book writing. That's one of my main coaching programs. I coach people on, how to set up their book, how to get it published, things of that nature. So those are two more spaces that I've kind of smoothly transitioned into.
Now, how long have you been doing this again, brother? When did you make this transition?
Man, I became a professional speaker just in 2017.
Wow. All right,
Yeah,
BEB
yeah,
family.
2017.
BEB family, I'm telling you that light bulb is going crazy right now. My man has been in the game about a year, give or take, and you see what he's doing already. And I'm telling you, it's possible. It's possible. You got to have a plan. Now, I'm not just saying go out there and quit and say, hey, boss, I'm quitting today and don't have a plan for tomorrow. But if you have a plan and you trust your plan and you put action behind that plan, this is what can happen. Now, I'm going to ask you a real silly question, Onae. Now, is your life better today or when you were working for somebody else, man?
Man, it's 300 times better today. 300 times better.
That's what's up. Well, and you know what? I
Yeah.
want to ask you, be a little bit more specific. Why is it better today? What are some of the things that are better today? And just expound on that a little bit for us.
Okay. Well, one thing is it allows me to control my time.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working in the factory, man, you have to be there 12, 14 hours a day.
Wow.
So you're stuck between those four walls. And anybody that's gifted, has a gift, understands, man, that that's the killer to any gift, is having to be stuck in one place where you cannot use your God-given abilities.
Exactly.
And so I was able to get out of those four walls, man, and begin to control my time, because now I may have an engagement 1 week, may have two, say another week, but I have those in between days now. So I
Mm-hmm.
have days where I can write, days where I can coach, days where I can do other things with my family, and kind of control my time more. So time is the biggest thing for me. And, I'm really enjoying, man, that I have time to go to the family reunion, man. My nephew graduated. I was able to go to his graduation, man. We take the simple things for granted, man. Like, there
Definitely.
used to be times I couldn't go to a graduation during the day. Like, I couldn't get off, Jay. Like, I couldn't. There are certain things, man, when you working for people, they tell you when to go to lunch, when to come back,
Mm-hmm.
when to clock in, when to clock out. Man, I got tired of that, man. I don't think, as children of God, we're created to live like that.
Definitely. So I know you mentioned money before, and time is real big. And I'm with you on that, brother, because having that flexibility to be able to do what you want to do, move around and do your thing, it's something that you really can't even describe that feeling, and being able to make money and doing something that you know you were put here to do. Now, I'm going to ask you, if you had three pieces of advice for somebody that was in your situation, that's working somewhere where they underpaid, overworked, they're not happy. What three pieces of advice would you give somebody that's looking to transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Man, I would say, start using your phone as a university.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all day long, we carry around this thing we call a smartphone. This phone is actually a university, man. It has everything you need. All the research you need to conduct is right there in your hands. We have to use our phone for more than Facebook and Instagram. Begin to use your phone as a university. Begin to do research. Um, Begin to really key in on what it is you want to do. I oftentimes see people, they say they want to do this, they want to lead a job, but then they're trying to do too much, and then it takes away from what they could really be doing.
Okay.
So begin to really key in on what it is that you feel is your God-given craft and ability, and begin to do personal development, man. I am
Okay.
a personal development guy to the core. Every day, man, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to Jay Mars. I'm listening to Boyce. I'm listening to all these guys online. I found another young guy, Julian Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
online, man. So I'm doing professional development, personal development all day long, man. I hardly even listen to music in my car anymore, man. I listen to nothing but podcasts. Where I'm constantly pumping positive information into myself daily. So I would say begin to do personal development, begin to hone in on your craft, and
Mm-hmm.
begin to start using your phone for more than social media.
That's great advice, man. And it's funny because I don't listen to a lot of music when I'm in my car either. It's always I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to YouTube or something that's going to give me
Yeah.
some more information that's going to be beneficial to me. So it's funny. Sometimes when my kids in the car with me, they had they got the young kid music on. I'm like, what is this garbage, right? And I'm like, man, I gotta. And if we're going on a long trip, it's like they're like, Dad, you gotta put that on. I'm like, all right, I'll wait till they fall asleep or something. But yeah, I really don't listen to a lot of music at all anymore. A lot of talk radio. I got XM satellite, so I listen to a lot of talk radio and podcasts. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what I do. And you're right, man. You take that time. So if you're working in a situation where you can have your headphones on and you could be working, say, in a warehouse or whatever, yeah, use that time to educate yourself and increase that knowledge. Because that's all we
Yes,
got, man.
sir.
We got to be able to do that so we can move forward, man. Now,
Yes,
Onae, let me
sir.
ask you, what sacrifices have you made to become a successful entrepreneur?
Oh man. Oh man, so many, man. One is, man, sacrificing, buying a lot of things that you may want to buy, man. I started investing more in books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe a person should have more books than they have Jordans.
There you go.
Uh, you have to invest in books, man. That's especially why I like going to Atlanta, man, to visit. Get a chance to stop by the Goodwill store, and man, they have all these books, man. Man, $2,
Mm-hmm.
$3, $1, man. I'm like, man, I leave out of there, man, loaded down with books, loaded down with books, man. So that has probably been the biggest sacrifice is more personal development, man.
There you go.
Cutting back on some of the wasteful things and actually getting into some of the more positive things.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. Definitely. It's funny because when you leave getting a paycheck every week, 2 weeks or whatever, and then you're out on your own, there's a little bit of trepidation, almost like you're walking the tightrope. And you
Yep,
got to
yep,
budget
yep.
and be fiscally sound to make sure that you can make that transition so you don't have to go back
hmm
to corporate. Because I know you wouldn't want to go back and see that old manager you had again, right?
Oh no, no, no. And Jay, you really have to sacrifice in this particular business because as you may know, like when you speak, you don't instantly get paid.
Right.
Like schools put you into a 30-day or 60-day cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So after you speak, then you go into that 30-day cycle of getting paid. So, so what you want to actually do is try to get enough speeches to actually fill in those gaps.
Right.
Of where you're waiting, where they have you in that 30-day cycle. So that's another sacrifice is, even if I was getting paid $200 a week, but it was still coming weekly,
right?
As opposed to, as opposed to now, it's going to be a bigger lump sum, but I just have to wait a little longer.
That job gave you that weekly cash flow as opposed to waiting, like you said, 30 or 60. Yeah, I know how that goes. Definitely.
Yeah.
now, Onae, I know you've only been in this about a year or so, but where do you see yourself and your business in 5 years from now?
Man, in 5 years, I want this thing to be a multi-million-dollar business, man. I want it to be, rocking on all cylinders, speaking all over the country, even the world. I also want to eventually transition into corporate training as well, because as you know, like you only have so long in the youth market, right?
That's it.
And then some other young guy is waiting in the wings to jump in that youth market. So youth market guys kind of season themselves out at some point. So when it's time for me to kind of shift from the youth market, I kind of want to transition over to corporate. Kind of like a Les Brown or ET. Kind of like following in their footsteps.
That makes a lot of sense. So that's that foresight going on, BEB family. My man already knows that eventually he's going to have to transition out. And so I'm sure you're going to be prepared for that when that time comes. Now, tell us about a specific time in your business, man, where you had a failure or a setback and how you overcame it and what did you learn from it?
Man, probably one of my roughest times I can remember, man. I found myself pretty low. I needed some money for gas, man, and I had two accounts. And with the one, it was in the negative, and the other one had $1.60 in it.
Wow.
And man, I remember going back to my car, man, just feeling like a total failure, saying, man, how did I find myself in this position, man? I've gone, I've gotten educated, I've read, I've studied, I've done a development. Like, how could I still be in this space, man? And then I stopped feeling sorry for myself, man. I said, look in your trunk, man. I got a box full of books.
There you go.
So what did I do, man? I started hitting people up. Hey, I got this book. I got that book. Meet me here. Meet me there, man. $20 a book. Before I know it, man, $300-400 in my pocket, man. I'm like, this is a sign that, stop feeling sorry for yourself, man, and get up and use what you have. Exactly. Get up and use the gifts that God has given you and equipped you with to do something positive with your life, man. So that's a memorable time I can think of, man, when I found myself kind of at my lowest, but I kind of overcame that.
Yeah, that's a powerful story right there. Sometimes certain things like that stick out, and there are points of demarcation where something changes. And that's what I want to tell all the prospective entrepreneurs out there. If you already are an entrepreneur, you know that you're going to have some bumps and hills in the road. So that's just par for the course. But you prospective entrepreneurs, you're going to come to a fork in the road sometime. And that sign that Onae got, and really that's what it was. It was a sign. Look, Onae, you need to use what you already have. You're not broke.
Right.
You may be negative in this one account, got $1.25 in the other, but like you said, you had a box full of books sitting in your trunk. That's a powerful statement right there. So all you entrepreneurs to be, recognize and understand you're going to go through the tough times, but always fall back on what's true. Whatever talents and gifts God has given you, that's what he wants you to use. So go ahead and move forward, man. That's a powerful story, brother, because you'll hear a lot of successful people will have a similar type story. People about to lose their homes, cars repossessed, sitting down in a dark house with candles because the electricity got cut off. But and I've been close to about all of them probably. But the one thing that successful entrepreneurs do is they keep pressing forward. They keep pressing forward no matter what comes at them, especially if they know that this is what they're supposed to be doing. So when you're living in your truth and working and monetizing your truth, That's almost unstoppable if you keep that focus. But if you're just out there trying to make money, every other week you got a different hustle and you're not focused, then that happens a lot of times when you don't become successful because you're chasing the money as opposed to doing what you're supposed to be doing. And the only person that can tell you what you're supposed to be doing is you. So I get people all the time, man, what kind of business should I start? I don't know, bruh. You know, you can tell me a little bit about yourself and we can try to formulate some ideas. But once again, if you're chasing the money, that's not necessarily good. I'm not saying don't go get that money and then parlay that money into something else, because that can work too. I've seen people do that, make the money and then they take the money and do what they want to do. I know a young brother that was he's into e-commerce, and he was one of my coaching students, but his optimal goal is to open a food truck. And that's what he did. So he was making money with e-commerce, which he liked it a little bit, but that wasn't his dream. And then he took that money and now he's got his first food truck. So, you know, you can work it that way, but to be optimal, you need to actually focus on what God put you here to do. And that's when you're going to break through those barriers and continue to move forward, man. That was a powerful story, man. And I've been there, man. I definitely been there, brother. Been there, done that. Don't want to go back. Now,
exactly.
You had mentioned before, man, that you look to be a multi-million-dollar business and move into the corporate market. Do you have an exit strategy? And I know you just started the business, but do you have an eventual exit strategy for your business?
Not right now.
Okay.
Not right now. I do know I want to transition into corporate, but right now I still look young, so I'm still good for the youth market. I'm on 30. I'm only 36.
There you go.
So I have at least till I'm 45 in the youth market to still be relevant.
There you go. You got some time, brother.
Yeah. So I try to work out at least 4 times a week to keep myself in shape, because all of that matters in the youth market, man. All of that. It's not so much about dressing young, but it's kind of about keeping up with current trends, knowing what's going on, what are they listening to, who are the most popular people in their arena at the time, kind of keeping up with what's going on so that you can give a relevant message, while still giving that basic character education, decision-making message. So I have a few more years in the youth market, man, before I transition out.
Cool. Now, it's funny. My wife is a middle school assistant principal, and she tells me these horror stories about, some of the kids, because she usually works with the 7th or 8th graders, and they normally give her the class that's the worst because she's a very good disciplinarian. And so she tells me about all of this stuff that's going on, man, and how some of the kids don't respond to a lot of positive things based on the situation that they may be in at home. So what type of response have you gotten from the kids when you go out and give your messages?
Man, I get a pretty good response. And I think that's why they continue to bring me in, because I always lead, Jay, with my story. So in the first 2 minutes of my speech, I'm trying to connect with my story. So I tell the story how I was born to 14-year-old parents. This is back in 1982. So you know how strict and religious things were back then.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of growing up, carrying that burden, carrying that pain of not being raised by my parents. Even though my grandmother gave me a great foundation and gave me everything I needed, there's still something about not having your parents and not knowing really who your parents are. I didn't meet my father till I was 14. He only lived a mile away, not even a mile. I could actually walk to his house. Wow. Didn't meet him till I was 14 years old, yeah. And so I try to connect with my story, and that instant I see their eyes when their eyes get big. And that's how I know, I'll be like, raise your hand if you're 13, raise your hand if you're 14. I was like, okay, imagine having a child at your age.
Yeah.
Imagine being the age you are now and having a responsibility. And that always tends to kind of catch them and bring them in. So there's some things I can't relate to. I've never, sold drugs or, been out in the street shooting guns, but I can relate to the pain. I can relate to struggle. I can relate to being poor. I can relate to certain things that they would understand. So that's how I kind of make that connection.
Oh, man. Yeah. And I can definitely see how that would be a major connection to the kids, because I just listen to some of the stories that my wife tells me, and my heart goes out to a lot of these kids, because it's almost like some of them almost don't even have a chance just because of the
Right.
circumstances that they're brought up in, and with
Right.
their parents. And so your heart just pours out to these kids, man. So I commend you, brother, for doing what you're doing, man, helping kids, helping people, and spreading that message that definitely needs to go around, man. Before we close on out, I want to ask you or tell our listeners how they can contact you, the books that you have, any services that you can provide. I know you do coaching and consulting. So tell the
Hmm.
BEB family, brother, how to connect with you.
Okay, you can connect with me on Facebook, Onae Chatman, Onae Chatman, Chatman. My website is onaechatman.com. Once again, that's Onaechatman. It's onaechatman.com. Instagram, Onae_the writer. All of my books are on my website, onaechatman.com. You can find everything there about me. You can connect with me there by joining my email list. I offer coaching, so if you're looking to write a book and you have no idea where to get started or how to get started or how to get published, I can also provide that service for you. You're looking to become a professional speaker, I can also show you how to get in that lane and how to actually make money doing it. So just connect with me on either Facebook or either through my website, onaechatman.com.
Cool. Brother, is there anything else that you'd like to add that I forgot to ask you, or something that you feel the BEB family needs to know?
I would like to add, Jay, that there's a lot of people, I'm sure, listening to this podcast that have a message. And I want to tell you that if you have a positive message, there are so many schools in your area that need you. You don't have to have a book. Book is good, but if you have a positive message, begin to sit down and get your message together, man, and put it in a PowerPoint and make your little speaker's resume. You don't have to do anything fancy. Begin to do free speeches. I had to do a lot of free speeches before I could get paid. Do a lot of free stuff, because what you want to do is start growing your social proof. You want to start getting pictures of you speaking in front of an audience. Make sure you get a picture from behind where they can actually see you addressing your audience. Because remember, all the principal wants to know is, where have you been and have you done this before? Those are the two questions that they're going to ask you. So begin to get your message together. Begin to kind of hone your skill. Do some free things to start perfecting your speech and your story, and you can rock this thing out.
Before you leave, brother, my last question I ask all my guests, man. If you had the opportunity to talk to one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
One person, living or dead. Oh, Mr. James Baldwin.
Oh, man.
Mr. James, yeah. Being a writer myself, man, I was always enamored by James Baldwin, man.
Yeah.
Smooth writer, smooth brother. So I would really like to talk to him.
Yeah, and for all of you guys that aren't familiar with James Baldwin, great new documentary came out, about last year? I Am Not Your Negro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so definitely
Yep.
check that out. It's a tremendous documentary on James Baldwin and his life and some of his superstar friends that he talks about in the video. So it's a great documentary. But James Baldwin, that's the first time we got that one. And that's a great answer to that. Yeah, I'm telling you, we got from Jesus to all kind of different people. So, which is a good one too. So,
yeah.
My brother, I want to thank you personally for sharing that story. What the BEB family has to understand, it's possible. It's possible.
Yes, sir.
Brother,
Yes,
you
sir.
went from making $8 an hour with a master's degree to doing what you're doing today, and pretty much within a 12-month period. So it can be done. You got to have a plan. You got to focus. You got to stick to it. And most importantly, if you don't take any action, it ain't going to happen. So,
exactly.
My brother, I appreciate you for coming out here, man, and sharing your story and your entrepreneurial journey and spending some time with the BEB family. Anytime you want to come back, you got something new going on, I'm going to tell you what you need to do, man. You probably need to start a boot camp yourself, man, because I'm going to tell you, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to reach out to you like, yo, man, how can I do this? Because it makes sense, brother.
Awesome.
Yeah, so start planning that boot camp, man. All right.
Okay.
My brother, I appreciate you, man, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Family, that was an amazing story that Mr. Onae Chatman shared with the BEB family. I have so many takeaways, but I'm going to break it down into a few. One thing that he said that stood out to me was he's investing in books. And he said you should have more books than you should have Jordans. And that brings me back to something my dad always used to say, and I had mentioned this on several episodes before, saying that you can tell a lot about a person by their bookshelf. Now, of course, today there's Kindle and all that type of stuff. But back in the day, you look at somebody's bookshelf, and if they had a lot of books there, they were probably well-read and well-rounded. And so that's what Onae is talking about. And I also like when he spoke about the three things that he would recommend to prospective entrepreneurs. And he said, number one, use your phone as a university. And that's real big because when he's in the car, he's listening to podcasts and he's educating himself while he's using his phone. So if you have a job where you can put your headphones on at work and it's not going to mess up your work, go ahead and educate your car. Use that phone as a university. Listen to podcasts and all types of different things that are going to move you forward in your development. Number two, key in on what you want to do. So you have to understand and focus on what you want to do. Where do you see yourself? And then you have to work backwards from that. So focus in on what you want to do. So Onae knew that he wanted to speak to children. That was his thing. He was a youth pastor, and so he knew that was his sweet spot. He wanted to speak to kids. So find out what you want to do. And number three, he talked about personal development. And I'm telling you guys, if you're not going forward, you're going backward. So you always want to invest in yourself, be it whatever, courses, reading, mentorship or whatever. You need to invest in yourself to move forward. But this is just a testament to a young brother who decided not to stand pat and take what life was giving him. He decided that, you know what, I got more to give. I'm much more than that. And I'm going to be determined, and I don't care what happens, I'm going to make this thing happen. And so when his boss offended him like that, that was the spark that said, you know what, I got to do what I got to do. And I'm telling you, most people don't make a move until they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. People don't make a change until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change, meaning that it gets too bad that I got to do something. And unfortunately, a lot of us sit in the same situation in the same place. And because we're getting pacified by a paycheck, even though we know this isn't where we're supposed to be, it's hard to make that transition. So I want the BEB family to really take note of Onae's story, where he came from, and what he's been able to do with having perseverance, a plan, and not giving up. So this was a tremendous story, and we definitely want to support this brother. So you know how we do it here at BEB family. Whatever we can do to help support this brother, please do so. Also, before we close out, guys, I just want to say it each and every week. We get more and more downloads, and I attribute that all to the BEB family. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast and the blog. And once again, I love you guys so much, and I thank you so much for allowing me to share with you my stories and also the stories of other Black entrepreneur men and women. Also, before we close out, please don't forget to check out my book, anewblackwallstreet.com, anewblackwallstreet.com. You can get it for $14.95 plus shipping and handling. If you're interested in educatedecommerce.com, my online course to help you build successful, sustainable e-commerce businesses, we have a promo going on from now for the first 5 people, and you can save $200 using the promo code BEB200. So go to educatedecommerce.com. If you're one of the first 5, use the code BEB200, and now the cost will be $297 for the entire course versus the regular price of $497. Also, family, if you need to connect with me in any way, shape, or form, anything long, hit me at jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. That's JAYJONES at blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Twitter, jjones001. Instagram, jjones4real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. YouTube, please check out my YouTube channel, go to YouTube and type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Different content on YouTube. Of course, the podcast comes up on it, but I have different content and videos on YouTube. Please subscribe to that, and we're going to be doing a lot more video coming up in the near future. And also, if you want to be included in the BEB text line for notification and reminders about special events, text BEB to 555-888. Text BEB to 555-888. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.